Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Well, today I'm going to be showing and sharing with you another project. Today I'm going to be building myself a custom timber watch box. I have made myself one before, and I'm going to show you that before I jump into this project, but making that box a while ago taught me a bit of a valuable lesson. When I started to make it, I struggled a little bit with getting the actual box sections for the watches correct. I knew the sort of pattern and the size that I wanted, but I was just struggling a little bit getting that sort of part of it correct. So I found a little bit of a cheat, and I'm going to show you that right now. So let's flip the camera around. I'm going to show you the watch box that I built a couple of years ago. I'm going to show you the little cheat that I use to make this whole process a little bit easier. And then I'm going to show you step by step me making a new custom watch box. I hope that's entertaining. I hope that it might give you some ideas, and I hope that means you might be able to build one of these yourself and have something a little bit unique and something to your particular style. Okay, let's flip the camera around now and let's jump into it. So a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to make myself a custom watch box, and this was actually the start of that project. I got about a third of the way through. I put the spaces in to put the watches in. I wanted a nice long space so I can put my pocket watch in there, and I wanted to create a drawer. But the project just wasn't coming together. So I stopped and I had another bit of a think, and I decided that I wanted to go in a different direction. And this is what I came up with. So I already had a 5-space watch box on hand. It was a rather cheap watch box, but it was perfectly fine. It just wasn't the look that I wanted. What I wanted to create was a nice box, custom made, with a drawer underneath. And as I just showed you, I tried to start to make that, but it wasn't really coming together. So I came up with a bit of an idea. Since I had a 5-space watch box already that was nice and neat and tidy, I was only really wanting 5 spaces at the time, which was probably a little bit naive since I was going to be buying more watches. But I thought I would use that as a basis of this watch box and incorporate the box around something that was already working. So what I did was I utilized that 5-space watch box, which is this part of the whole section here, and then I built the rest of the box around it. So you'll see these nice 5 spaces are actually within that initial watch box. I've painted it black around there so it sort of fits in amongst it, and I created this nice little section here so I can lay down my pocket watch. And underneath I put in a drawer. In here I put in all my daily stuff like my ring boxes, my wallet, sunglasses, etc. I'll bring it a little bit closer for you to see. You can see that's actually my old watch box that I took the lid off and I just incorporated in this whole project. So the plan is, with this new watch box, is to do the same basic thing. I found myself something online on AliExpress that has enough spaces that I can start to create a new watch box, and I'm going to build around that. So really it's a bit of a cheat. Start with something fairly done for you, something that is the hard part really, the part that getting the nice spaces, the nice sort of velvet inside, the correct size and dimensions. It's already done for you. You're now just building around it. And this particular project that I'm showing you today is going to be relatively easy because I'm not putting in drawers, I'm not putting in multiple layers. It's just a simple box around a tray that I've already bought. And I think you can apply this concept to any sort of watch box that you want to build. You start off with something that you already have or that you've bought for this purpose, and you just build around it. So let's jump into the project. I'm going to try and show you the steps along the way. There's not too many steps to show you, and hopefully in the end it comes out as good as this one here, because I'm really happy with how this project came out. You'll also see I've lined these with leather just to make it a little bit neater and tidier inside, and perhaps I'll try and apply that to the new project as well. So let's jump into it. Let me show you the steps of me making my new watch box. So very simply, I'm going to draw for you what I'm looking to make. It's going to be quite simple. There's nothing too much to this. It's not that technical, but let me just show you what I want to do. I'm going to have the pre-made watch box / watch tray. So it comes already pre-done. I'm now just building around it. So now looking down, I need to add a piece of timber onto each side, and then a piece of timber front and back as well. Now there is the option when doing these sides that I can do a 45-degree angle like that. However, the equipment that I have with me at the moment, it's good enough to do things like that, but not on the sheer width of the wood that I'm going to be doing it with, and it comes out a little bit wonky. So I'm going to be keeping it nice and simple, and I'm just going to butt them up against each other. The positive of that one as well is when we're looking at it from a front direction, you'll just see this nice clean piece of timber. And then obviously I'm going to cut a nice piece of timber, which will then end up being the lid, and there'll be two hinges here and here. Now, because this tray that I bought isn't the best quality, I was hoping it was going to be a little bit better than it was, but it is what it is. It's certainly going to do the job. I'm not going to complain about it, but I'm really not really going to recommend you buy this particular one. I think there's probably better stuff out there. I should have looked a little bit harder and got something a little bit better, but because of that, it's a little bit flimsy, so I'm going to cut another piece of timber and mount that on top of it. So it's going to have a base, then it's going to have the tray on top, then we're going to slap on those sides there, then the front, and then we're going to attach the lid with those two hinges. Fantastic, nice and simple, nothing too complex. Really the only thing complex is about cutting the timber. On that note, if we're looking down from this way, and this is the front view of that tray, inside here it's been divided up. When I add the piece of timber, I need to make it tall enough that the pillow and the watch, when it's sticking out the top, isn't being hit by the lid. Some of them, depending on which one you buy in regards to the watch tray or the pre-done watch box that you're going to reuse, that's not really going to be an issue, but this one has quite a shallow profile and the watch does stick up somewhat, so I'm going to ensure that when I cut that timber, it is going to give significant enough room or sufficient room that when the lid then goes on top, then I'm not going to damage the top of the watch. Cool, as easy as that. Let's jump into it and I'm going to show you step by step how I'm going to put this thing together. So here's this watch tray that I have bought. It's fairly big, so it's not really showing up on my studio very well, but it came with these little individual cushions which actually work reasonably well, but overall it's not really the best quality. The way that this has been put together, this is sort of just cardboard under here, and you'll see if you look underneath it's just this melamine and it's covered by this black felt. I'm quite happy with the black felt. It's sort of what I was sort of looking for, to have a bit of comfort, sort of nice sort of black looking on the sides, but the overall quality of the construction of this is not particularly great. Two things I want to show to you now and want to point out if you're looking to do this project yourself. You want something that's fairly solid on the sides, preferably actually made out of wood, and there is a little bit of wood in here. Because when you stick the other wood to it, if it's just cardboard or leather or something, it may not be, attain a really good, nice, solid stick. This thing does come out. You can see this is a bit average inside here. So what I've actually done is I've cut a nice piece of cow hide in this cognac color, and I've stuck it to the right size and the right dimensions, so that now when I put this back in here, it just looks a little bit nice and a little bit neater. And you can see how dodgy this little thing is here. It just doesn't quite line up quite right. But you know what? This is going to do the trick for me. It's going to work perfectly fine. I've already tested it out with the cushions in my watches. They do sit in there quite neat and tidy. And once I have lifted up the timber up here on the side, as you can probably see, well, maybe I haven't got enough room here, but as you can probably see here, that's actually not very wide. So the watches do stick up and above. You'll also see here, and there's another spot here, there's a little bit of damage when it arrived. It wasn't packed very well from AliExpress in the postage. Okay, so let me show you the next step in regards to creating my custom watch box. So I've had to change up the background a little bit just to give myself a little bit more depth, because this project is a little bit bigger than what I normally show you guys. So what I've done now is I've chopped up a bunch of the timber. Now this timber, I've actually recycled it. It used to be an old piece of furniture that we just no longer used. It wasn't really worth a lot of money, but it was a nice piece of timber. There was a whole bunch of it in this piece of furniture. I chopped it up and I've turned it into a whole heap of different pieces, including that original watch box that I've already shown you. So I've already chopped them all to size. I've also spray painted the back black so that on the inside it's just going to be a little bit neater. So let me show you how I'm going to put this together. Firstly, I've just got a piece of timber, nothing too special, just to be as the backing plate. Then the watch tray will go on top of that. And then I've got the two side pieces. And then I've got front and back. And you can see there's the top of the timber there. Give me a little bit of depth so that my watches can sit on top. I've then got this piece of timber here. Again, I've spray painted black underneath. And you see there's actually a bit of a lip on that. That has already been done as part of the furniture. This was the top of the furniture. So I'm just reusing that just as a nice little accent on the front of this watch box. And that will be the lid. So it will look something like that, except for it shouldn't fall apart. What I'm going to do first is glue these two in, then I'll glue these two in, and then I'll slide the tray in and glue that together as well, and then attach that top to it. So welcome to my shed. I just wanted to show you this little section here. I think it'd be quite easier doing it here rather than bringing you back into the studio. So I have literally just glued all four sections, the two fronts and the back, around that base plate. I didn't screw or put any nails in because I didn't want any nails or screws to be seen in around there. I've just used those 4 clamps to clamp it together. The glue that I've used is liquid nails. It's pretty strong stuff, so that should pretty much hold it together. The next step, once it has finished glued, I'm going to get that tray. I'm going to put lots of glue in here as well and just slide that tray down into it, and that will also help to glue and hold all the pieces together. So now I've dumped a heap of glue inside there. Let's see if I can stick this tray in there and see how it works out. And I managed to get it in there really well. It fit like an absolute glove. I obviously did a lot of 2 measurings before cutting. Always measure twice before cutting once. And as you can see, there's a fair bit of a lip there, allowing that space for the watch cushion and the watch, and then I can put the lid on top of that. So here we have it all glued together. It has come out quite nicely. I'm pretty happy with that. There was a little bit of glue here on the edges I had to clean up, and this leather inside here I've now glued down inside. So the next step is to attach the hinges and put the little lid on. And we now have the lid on it. Look at that, with hinges. I'm very happy with that. It lined up very nicely as well. So the last step really now is just to oil it up. I have this special Scandinavian oil that I like to use. It's this one here. It goes on like an oil, but it sort of sets sort of somewhere in between a varnish and an oil, and it just really brings out all that lovely wood grain, makes it sort of pop. Now you'll notice I haven't got any sort of hinges on it. I actually prefer it without that. I tend to have it sort of sitting in my room like that so I can lean it up against a wall, and I just don't think the hinges look that great. I understand the functionality of that, but for me I'm quite happy without that. You can always add a little bit of a hinge or even just a nice piece of string or ribbon that would sort of then hold the lid up. Alright, I'm going to stick this oil on it now, and then I'll give you a bit of a view of the final product. So I've now applied that sort of Scandinavian oil. You can see it's made it a lot darker. It sort of brings out all that nice wood grain, but it takes a little while to sink in and dry and go completely hard. So what I'll do now is I'm going to leave it for a day or two, let it dry off completely, and then I'll show you the end result with some watches in there. So here we have the final product. That oil has really brought up the natural grains in the wood. It's really neat and tidy. I've got the hinges on it, and my watches sitting there and really nice and neat. And I'm very happy with the overall finish of the box. Thankfully now I have enough spaces in both of my two watch boxes to fit all of my watches nice and neat and tidy. Well, let's get back to me and I'll give you some of my final thoughts on this project. So there is another project completed and I am happy with the results. It is not perfect, but I'm perfectly happy with it and it certainly suits me and it does what I need it to do. Now, if I didn't mention it earlier, I am not going to leave a link for the watch tray in the description, and that is because it's not quite good enough. It's good enough for what I've done. I'm okay with it. I'm happy enough with it. I'm not going to go out and buy another one to redo this project, but I just don't think it's good enough to recommend for you guys. I think you should, if you're thinking about doing something like this, find something a little bit better quality, or do what I did with my first watch box and use something that's a little bit more substantial. Okay guys, I really appreciate you watching. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you did so. It really helps to support the channel and myself and keeps me motivated to making more videos. Okay guys, I'll see you again shortly in the next video.